Witch on a Holy Night is an amazing story that I sadly don't see enough people talking about right now. I know that once the movie come out, much more people will talk about it, and I also feel like a particular part of the story will be glossed over for the second part of this grand battle. Today we will be looking at the Night of Witches Part 1. However, I'm only going to be summarizing Act 1 through 5 for Night of the Witches Part 1. And the reason for that is because I believe not enough people have read the original source material. So it'll be kind of hard to do an analysis on something that most people haven't really read. This also can be served as a refresher of sort for people who have read the story, and to give them an aspect of what they haven't really thought about when look at the story again. We start with Sojiro return to his apartment. Sojiro thinks about getting a bike and how convenient it would be to have one. But ultimately, he tells himself that while it would be convenient, he's far too used to walking already. Entering his apartment, he checks his mail to find a letter from Uncle Aozaki, telling Sojiro to meet her someplace, as she has something important to talk to him about. In the letter is a map to where she wants to meet, an abandoned amusement park which was a commercial failure due to terrible business practices. Without hesitation, Sojiro do what he is told and leaves his apartment. The meeting spot at the amusement park is a European-style castle that is a house of mirrors, but is also elaborate. It feels that people kept needing to have a rescue team in order to get out. It wasn't much of a fun house or elaborate. It was a jail. Despite the letter saying to meet on the first floor lobby, Sojiro finds Aoko hiding behind a garbage can, not too far from the entrance.
ところで青崎、そんなところで何してるんだ?
When asked why she was hiding, she tells him that she was trying to cut off her prey escape route, though Sojiro takes relief in knowing he didn't get the wrong place. Ignoring Sojiro's obliviousness, Aoko declares him as her enemy, and shoots magic fireball from her hand, but misses.
ちょっと待った。今のは大変見覚えがある。
外したか。ああ、こんな射程で外すなんてアリスに見られたら自殺者ね。でもこれで分かったでしょ。二度目だものね。あなたにとっては。
Sojiro accepts that someone is targeting his life. However, he doesn't question why. Why would a classmate aim for his life? What did he do to deserve to be murdered? He accepts that these things are fine. After all, he hears about city murders all the time. So it was bound to happen that he would eventually get murdered. He must have broken a rule that he didn't know about. This is his mind. This is how he thinks. He just accepts these things. The only question he has is Uncle Bullet. However, all Sojiro does, instead of asking the question of what her fireball is, he shouts to Aoko that it's wrong to kill people before Aoko shoots more of her magic bullets at him. However, all Sojiro does, instead of asking the question of what her fireball is, he shouts to Aoko that it's wrong to kill people before Aoko shoots more of her magic bullets at him. Sojiro then jumps into the House of Mirror, unknowingly going into Ako's trap. He isn't the brightest tool in the shed. Sojiro then bumps into a mirror because once again, it's a house of mirrors. Aoko explains her magic bullets, the house of mirrors, and how it Sojo managed to survive her dirty bullets. He wins for today. That is only for today. She will continue hunting him regardless of whether or not he wins or loses today. It's just today he can possibly run away with a victory. With that, the battle in the House of Mirrors begins. The sound of magic bullets can be heard throughout the amusement park. While I could summarize this act just like how I did in Act 1, I want to quickly compare the chase scenes from Nasu's other chase scenes in the series, being Shiki and Arkaway, as well as Shiro and Rin. As while they all show similarities, each does a thing of its own. Starting off with the least of the comparison being Shiki and Arkaway. Shiki and Arkaway isn't really the same as much, and it's not as close. However, I still feel a need to mention it. Shiki runs away with, guilt. Guilt that he believes he did something wrong because, he did do something wrong. He's confused about the situation he is in, but he also fully accepts that the person might want revenge, and he wouldn't fault them for it. However, he doesn't want to die, and that desire not to die is why he keeps running away from Arkaway. Shiro is in a much more similar situation than Sojiro, to where he is oblivious to the situation, but he isn't accepting of the situation like Sojiro. And I think this is a huge difference. Shiro much more fights back against Rin. Like, he doesn't just runs away from her, he will scrap down. However, he doesn't intend on killing her, he just intends on subduing her. The difference is both Shiki and Sojiro both accept their situation, while Shiro is rejective of his situation and fights back against it. Now let's talk about our heroines. Let's start with Arkaway. Arkaway is a much more different one. She doesn't have the similar situation where she needs to cover a secret. Rather, she is encountering Shiki because she's curious about him, wanting to learn more about him. She isn't chasing him with intent to harm. Rather, she's chasing him because she wished to learn more about him and ask him for a favor. Now we have Rin, and before we start, I just need to point out that Aoko is the base model for Rin and Akiha. Now, for Rin, the difference between Aoko and Rin is that Rin is kind and doesn't actually wish to kill Shiro. The moment she gets a chance to actually not kill him, she doesn't really take it. However, Aoko doesn't kill Sojiro because, a third party comes. And if that third party didn't come, she would have killed Sojiro in that moment. Rin is too kind to kill Shiro, while Aoko is too proud to let up a moment to kill Sojiro. That's the main difference. One is fully invested in their determination to get the job done, while the other is too kind to get the job done. All three of these have another connecting line, that is the third party. Shiki and Arkaway have Nero Chaos involved. For Shiro and Rin, they have Rider, or Medusa. For Sojiro and Aoko, it's the puppet. Shiki and Arkaway is the opposite of the other two, in which Shiki doesn't really do anything for Arkaway. Instead, Arkaway is the one who protects him. This is to earn Shiki's trust, knowing that, he won't believe in me just because I came back from the dead, and asked for his help. This is such a great scene, but I should mention how their relationship in the original is a bit rushed when you consider that it only happens in the course of 5 to 6 days. Shiro and Rin both check on a student that they hear suddenly scream. Shiro has a chance to run away from Ren, but he doesn't even take that chance. While Ren has a chance to just kill Shiro without hesitation. But she's too kind for that. Both of them are too kind to let a person who is in need of help get hurt any further. And then Riders attacks them, mostly Ren. However, Shiro defends Ren. And then Shiro goes after Rider. Finally, we have Sojiro and Anko. Sojiro is finally cornered by Anko. Anko asks him, do he have any last words? In his head, he thinks, well, it's about time that he finally die. While he doesn't want to die, he's at least happy that it was Anko that killed him. However, he then asks out loud, hey, Anko, is that person your friend behind you? At first, Anko thinks he must be joking. However, then she realized that it's Sojiro, and then realized that Sojiro doesn't joke. She turns around to see the puppet. While all three of them runs away for their own life, only Sojiro isn't really afraid of death. He isn't afraid to die by Anko's hand. In fact, he welcomes it. And that acceptance is what makes him so bizarre. The battle begins with the puppet extending his arm across the room, striking Anko back and slamming her into the glass wall. Sojiro helps her back onto her feet, but is surprised at how light she is. To Sojiro, Anko is an amazing person that her being light as any normal girl never formed in his head. When Anko gets back on her feet, she's pissed off at Sojiro. How could he help a girl that tried to kill him? And then she proceeds to rush in for a counterattack to close the distance between her and the puppet. Only she starts to hear the puppet cursing her.
Ictius meus obitus dies, et meus nativus dies, teobeam. Mea animae mortalis, otem me futura negata sunt. Manis sum, animam definire ambiguum est. Teodi et te am, conveniamus insomnio ipso. Proximi mich negligentes ferunt, omnes nos peccantes fims, et omnes nos edem fims, omnes nos peccatores suns. Venite domum meum, lut simile somnium, et pulvere simile quotidianum, corruprebur, te judico.
何それレベル高すぎじゃない
Realizing she may need to rethink her approach, she grabs Sojiro and runs with him. While running, she talks about her injuries, the puppet, and why she didn't leave Sojiro with the puppet. While talking to Sojiro, she kind of realized something. That Sojiro is blissfully ignorant, and to the point that he would have believed that the puppet was a normal thing to see in the city. So there was no need to actually kill him, but the damage has been done. Even explaining stuff like magic and how the puppet operates was pointless because Sojiro would not really understand any of it. He could have just cleared up the misunderstanding, but instead their first reaction was kill. However, it's understandable as they are teens that are, well, trying to be in a position that they don't know if they're ready for. However, while they're talking, the puppet finally catches up to them and start using magic. Grandor's shot. While Anko is able to block the shots, it leaves her open for an attack by the puppet arm. Before that can happen, however, Sojiro grabs Anko and books it. It finally dawns on Anko that while Sojiro been constantly running, he has a lot of energy, so it's a bit bizarre that he gave up when he did. But she also admits that she was playing around with Sojiro, similar to how the puppet has been seemingly playing around with Aoko and Sojiro, almost seeming like it's toying with them, doesn't take them seriously. Sojiro explains that he would rather be killed by Aoko than the puppet. And in a way, it's easier to accept that you're being killed by someone you know rather than someone you don't know at all. She tells Sojiro a way to escape the mirror funhouse as she goes alone to fight the puppet again. Sojiro not even getting a word out to tell her to not go by herself. Sojiro is left by himself and left to just go to the exits that she told him about.
運が良ければ入り口までたどり着けるわ。それじゃあ、また明日ね。
Aoko confronts the puppet, preparing herself by reinforcing her arm with magic, as the puppet continues sprouting curses at her. Thinking about her slim chances due to her now restrained magic, as well as the puppet's many abilities, an image pops into her head. A frightening image. This image brought fear, doubt, and an uncomfortable gnawing sense. It felt like she was being strangled. She thought of the many ways she might die in this fight. None of these thoughts were helping her. As the bullets approaches Aoko, she blocks his shots with her magic barrier. The puppet repeating its attack from last time strikes its arm, but Aoko predicts it would do so and dodges. With her prediction correct, Aoko makes a final rush in for victory when the puppet pulls itself towards its extended arm, slamming Aoko into the mirror wall along with it. Now the puppet closer than ever to Aoko. She hears the repeating headache-inducing cursed music box, as well as it finally sees the puppet's face. Mustering up her fighting spirit, Aoko manages to jump back only to see the puppet shoots his second arm at her. With nowhere to dodge, she contemplates how she's gonna die.
危ない。
The voice wakes her up, helping her dodge, and Sojiro just as quickly grabs her arm and runs from the puppet. After escaping the puppet again, Sojiro explains why he couldn't leave and how the puppet blocks the exit. Sojiro makes a deal with Aoko to help her defeat the puppet in exchange for no longer trying to kill him. She accepts and the two start to make a plan.
さっきので完全に敵扱いされた。あの人形、こっちをじろっと睨んできたし。いや、一瞬でよく見えなかったけど、生きた心地しなかったな。青崎も気をつけた方がいい。多分よっぽど怖い顔をしているに違いないぞ、あれ。
それはご親切にどうも。
うん。なんでこれはもう他人事じゃないんだ。青崎と人形。結論として、どっちが勝っても俺は殺されてしまうんじゃないか？
そうね。そこまでやってるなら、目撃者は消すでしょうね。私みたいに。
だろ？でも、俺はあいつには殺されたくない。
The plan for Sojiro is to distract the puppet while Aoko blows up the support beam to the house of mirrors, using an ignition formula. Originally, this plan was meant for Sojiro if she lost him in the house of mirrors.
青崎、こうじゃわからない。できるだけ明確に、どこまで爆破する気だったのか白状してくれ。あと、もしかして俺、早まったか？
いや、単なる保険っていうか。
With the support beam blowing up, it should clear the puppet blockade to the exit. as well as dump the whole house of mirror onto the puppet. The puppet movement has been rather slow, mainly due to the maze that 3 are in. So Sojiro will need to keep the puppet busy for 3 minutes while Aoko is blowing up the support beam. Since Sojiro has a lot of speed as well as been outrunning Aoko and the puppet the whole night, it makes sense for him to do this part of the job. With this, Sojiro readies himself for the plan and makes eye contact with the puppet. And he forgot. He forgot the layout that Aoko has given him for the maze. So, okay, things aren't too bad. After all, he was able to outrun Aoko the whole night, so he should be able to outrun the puppet without knowledge of the maze. And just like that, Sojiro failed his part of the plan. Good job there. Aoko, hearing the puppet coming her way at full speed, also realized quickly Sojiro dropped the ball.
3分どころか10秒持たないってどういうことよ。
Aoko contemplate on whether or not it'd be worth it to continue with the plan. Hearing the puppet constantly come faster and faster towards her, she decided to continue with her plan to blow up the building, full of resolve, and continue into the basement.
Vivo insomne, solitare putresque inferis. Ictius meus obitus dies, et meus nativus dies, te obeam.
そもそも自爆覚悟じゃないあれ。六足歩行とフィンの一撃は使いすぎよ。もう呪詛による魔力補給じゃ間に合わない。
The puppet finally appears, and with a minute left before the complete collapse of the building, Aoko is forced to fight it again to escape.
行くわよ。ここできっかり。
The puppet undying resolve to make sure that Aoko is dead by the end of this night gains Aoko respect. She couldn't ask for a better opponent for tonight. Aoko rushed towards the puppet, dodging its magic bullets and deflecting its lunging arms up close to the puppet, and she finally lands a hit on the puppet. She used all her strength into her one kick just to make sure that this hit is the only one that needed to for the rest of this night, to make sure that her opponent is down in one fell hit.
Venite, 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 meum sepulchrum, venite.
恨むなら設計者を恨みなさい。ダイナモの一つでも積んでいればもうちょっとは重たくなったでしょうに。で、
Kicked back into reality by the falling building, Aoko rushes to the exit. For a second, in front of the exit, she wonders if Sojiro escaped. Sure, she didn't need to make sure of his safety. After all, he failed his part of the plan, but she still wondered about if he's left her or if he just, well, stayed in the building. This would cost her, however.
E salvato, e salvato, e salvato, e salvato. Venit domum meum. Lut sine somnium. Et pulver simile quotidiano. Cor credo. Te iudico.
しつこいぞお前。
puppet attack is stopped by Sojiro, attacking it with a fire extinguisher. It appeared Sojiro stayed behind for Aoko. Aoko grabs Sojiro's hand. For the first time tonight, she's the one who rescues him. The two finally escape the madhouse full of mirrors as it collapsed. The two were at last given a break. However, now comes the discussion about Sojiro Suzuki's fate. Despite everything, Aoko accepts that Sojiro redeemed himself by waiting for her as well as saved her from the puppet final attack. Aoko decides that it's time to let Sojiro live, at least for tonight.
ところで、今夜はって言うけど、明日からは
さま、その時になったら考えるわ。
随分と身勝手ね。それはあなた一人で決めていいことだったかしら、青子。
The big reason why I love this fight more than the Snark fight is because it's not some highly epic fight, but a rather personal fight. You don't need to know much of the system at hand, and a lot of the characters' actions give you insight on the character themselves. The fight with Snark is mostly building up to one big moment, and as good as that moment is, I'd rather the fight that feels like every piece of it matters. This fight against the puppet is a fight for Aoko to surpass herself. Aoko up to this point has lived her life as a normal girl as well as a magician. And she's grown to accept both lives. She's been tasked to kill Sojiro as he found out about magic by accident. Killing Sojiro would mean killing her normal life. She views her hesitation to kill off this part of her life as weakness. The puppet represents what type of magician she wants to be. Aoko wants to be this thing that isn't even human, that coldly does its objectives. Sojiro in this respect represents the easy, blissful life that Aoko has been rejecting. However, the truth is, Aoko is who she is because of her dual life, and her drive to be not complacent. That is Aoko's biggest strength in her humanity and drive to tackle everything with everything she got. No matter the hand she's dealt, she tries to win with it, even if her chances are slim. She doesn't accept things for what they are, like Sojiro. She approaches things to understand it, gives that understanding to others. At the beginning of the fight, Aoko is taken away from most of her magical abilities, but she manages to beat the puppet through human means, and this puppet happened to have fought like a witch. Aoko fights an unfair life fairly and honestly. This is a major reason why I like this fight. I aspire to fight life the same way, and I love Aoko Aozaki for this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.
あいつどうなった？
見ての通りよ。今頃バラバラ死体になってるんじゃない？でも、そんな心配より自分の心配をした方がいいと思うわよ。しずきくん。
青崎、子供の頃はいじめっ子だっただろ。
可逆趣味はないって自負してるけど。それで、今の自分の立場、わかってる？
面目次第もございません。
かしこまってもダメよ。あの提案には大前提があったわよね。これは取引だって。あなたが役に立つのなら見逃してあげるっていう。
わかってる。だから面目ないって言ってるだろ。は
あ。じゃあ、覚悟はできてるの？
そんなのはできないけど、約束だからな。結局は何もしていないし。
ま、それでよしとするか。役割は果たさなかったけど、アフターケアは合格だし。約束は守らなくちゃね。約束は、いつか守ってもらうとして。
ん？
何を？
いや、突拍子もないけど、青崎は律儀だなって